Hello and welcome to another edition of the Morning Update live on NTN. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in to find out what's happening, what's the latest with the government of St. Lucia. If you're watching on air online, good morning to you. For those of you residents here in St. Lucia, St. Lucians in the diaspora and well-wishers globally who are looking to keep abreast with what's happening, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is Thursday, the 17th of June 2021, and this is the week of the Unthink festival happening over at the Arthur Lewis Community College. We also have observances for the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, the anniversary of their establishment. And tomorrow we'll be having the flag raising ceremony for the OECS. So we invite you to tune in for that. In the meantime, we have the latest updates from the Department of Health and Wellness in terms of our latest COVID-19 cases, as well as we heard from the Prime Minister just recently. The St. Lucia Distillers displays confidence in the economy with a $30 million expansion project. The Prime Minister weighs in on that. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the Unthink Festival examining the applied theories of Sir Arthur Lewis, and meet the winners of the World Forest and Water Day competition. So the details to these stories and more are on the other end of this break. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that for the next 30 minutes we're going quickly through the latest updates from the government of St. Lucia. Tune in on Facebook or on YouTube for what's happening out of government. So stay tuned for us on the other end of this break. We get into the meat of things.
Dentist? Really? How was that? It wasn't bad. The dentist was really nice and she told me that mouth rinsing is very important for healthy teeth. How so? Rinsing with water gets rid of food in between your teeth, which can protect you from getting cavities. No, wait. So after I eat or drink anything, it's a good idea to rinse out my mouth with water? Yes! Make sure to spit out the water after rinsing because swallowing will only bring the germs into your body. Remember, water is an easy and cost-effective way to instantly boost your health and a healthy body to fight any diseases, including COVID-19.
With all that's happening around us, simple adjustments are necessary to keep us all safe. When calling 911, we may need a little more information to deploy the right personnel and protocols. You may be asked about your travel history, signs and symptoms, contact and movement history, and whether others in your household are exhibiting similar symptoms. Please be patient and cooperative during this time to ensure you receive the best possible care while keeping our first responders safe.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Seeing the kids during the break there made me, brought to mind rather, the common entrance examinations that are due very, very soon. I think we're days away. We wish the kids all the best as they go to sit this exam. And of course, those CXC students and CAPE students preparing for their examinations as well. We start our morning with, well, if you're just joining us, special good morning to you. This is the morning update. We're coming to you live from the Information Command Center, where we continue to keep watch over COVID-19, but also looking at some of the other developments aside from the management of COVID-19 coming out of the government of St. Lucia. And Prime Minister Honorable Alan Shasney has hailed a multi-million-dollar expansion project by St. Lucia Distillers as a clear indication of the resilience of the local private sector and the island by extension. Take a look at our first report for the morning.
Speaking at the official opening ceremony of the new facility, Prime Minister the Honourable Alan Chastanet stated that the occasion offered an opportunity to take a pause and reflect on the impact of COVID-19, not just on a personal level, but on the business community and the country. Noting the positive strides taken since the pandemic, the Prime Minister indicated that one should look forward to the future with optimism. Honourable Chastanet welcomed the US $30 million expansion, describing the project as appealing.
The journey started many years before I know, Mr. Yuat, you came to St. Lucia. But we're very happy that you've decided in 2016 to make St. Lucia part of your history. And I want to thank you personally that despite what was going on with COVID and the clear reflection that many people must make in terms of, do I continue to invest? Do I continue to achieve the levels of excellence that I saw in your facilities in Martinique and continue that journey here in St. Lucia? And I want you to know that I'm certainly not one person. I am one person who does not take your commitment and your continuation for granted. And I want to thank you very, very much.
Noting the timeliness of the project, the Prime Minister explained its impact across the sectors. He added that given the direction in which the country is moving, there are significant benefits to be had.
This project is special for St. Lucia because it crosses three very important sectors. Agro-processing, and I know that we're starting to plant back some sugarcane, and that's a very good sign. Manufacturing in terms of processing, and then tourism. And then underlying those three things are two very separate markets. Our domestic market and what we call OECS and CARICOM, as well as the international market and our tourism market. And this is our journey. This is what St. Lucia has recognized, that in order for us to reach the economies of scale, to succeed on a global basis, we must blend those three components.
Honourable Chastanet announced plans to take advantage of the waste from the distilling process. This, he said, will benefit not just the company, but the island as a whole.
And I have recognized that there is a substantial part of your input that is going to waste. And that is the energy that you're creating from the distilling process to begin with. I was very heartened to see that Barbados recently announced that it had reached an agreement with its electricity company, that electricity company now will be focusing on the distribution of electricity and no longer on the production of electricity. What does that mean for manufacturers? So all of a sudden, an output of your manufacturing process that is going to waste not only potentially can supply the energy for your plant, but also to be able to supply a cheaper source of energy into our own network. And until we're able to cross that hurdle, we genuinely will not be successful to the extent that we are. So a valuable input is the energy that is locally produced here, and it needs to be part of your process. And I assure you, sir, that my government continues to work to make sure that we can follow suit with what's taken place in Barbados. And hopefully very soon you will also be able to now benefit from being able to provide your own energy as well as selling energy into our grid.
Other manufacturers and plant operators will also be able to benefit from this initiative. The legislation to support the move, the Prime Minister explained, is underway. Prime Minister the Honourable Alan Chastanet reaffirmed the government's commitment to creating a facilitating environment where all sectors are able to thrive.
Thank you, Janelle, for that report. A slow yet steady incline and deliberate move up in our economic activity here on island. St. Lucia distillers displaying confidence in the economy with a $30 million expansion project. The Prime Minister there, Honourable Alan Chastanet, indicating that this initiative is a clear indication of the resilience of the local private sector and the island by extension. So we're coming up on a resumption, full resumption of our society, uptick in the economy, but a reduction in the COVID-19 registered cases. On Wednesday, June 16th, that was yesterday, there was a registered 2 new cases of COVID-19 from the Ezra Long Laboratory, and that was out of a batch of 225 samples. So out of 225 people that came to test for COVID-19, only 2 came back as positive. These newly diagnosed cases, they were seen at the various respiratory clinics on island where they were assessed and tested for COVID-19, and in keeping with the national COVID-19 testing protocol, they were each placed in home quarantine by healthcare practitioners while awaiting receipt of their COVID-19 test results. Arrangements have since been made to place them into isolation, and the contact tracing for these 2 newly diagnosed individuals is now underway. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is also reporting, they've indicated that they've received the news from the hospital of the recovery of 12 individuals, bringing the total number of active cases in country to 74. In terms of COVID-19 management, this figure looks really good and of course much to the satisfaction of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. All active cases are currently doing well, and none of the individuals who are being treated for COVID-19 are situated in the intensive care unit. The new positives, the 2 new positives, bring the total number of cases diagnosed in country to date, that is since March of last year, to 5,188. Now, coming to our COVID-19 vaccination campaign. As of Tuesday, that was June 15, 29,798 individuals have received their first dose of the vaccine, and 20,908 individuals have received their second dose of that Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. The COVID-19 vaccination, we remind you, continues to cater to individuals 18 years and older, and for those of you who want to take the first dose, and for those of you who have already taken the first dose, you're getting due for your second, you can also go into one of the sites where it's being administered to get inoculated. We did hear from the immunization manager, Assistant Principal Nursing Officer, Ms. Tekla Jean-Baptiste, that there has been quite a considerable amount of ground covered. We've covered, I believe, 16% of the population for the first dose of the vaccine so far, and work is continuing at the government level, the cabinet level, to try to procure additional vaccines for us. We know that more vaccines through the COVAX facility are on their way. So persons are being encouraged to come in, get vaccinated. That is the advice of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Get vaccinated so that we can attain ultimately herd immunity, so that society can come back to some sense of normalcy. And we saw with the last adjustment that was made to the COVID-19 protocols, there was concession for individuals who are fully inoculated against COVID-19 as per the prescription of the Oxford AstraZeneca. And these individuals are now able to gather for social activities, sporting activities, and so on. And I can imagine, as I've indicated before, this is an incentive for individuals who've not yet made up their minds, who read upon the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and, you know, still have apprehension that this is a way for you to be able to indulge and experience what you've not been able to in the last year of the pandemic and the resultant controls. So please take note of this, that the government is doing all that it can right now to attain herd immunity, to get as much of the population inoculated as possible, so that hopefully, as we heard from the Prime Minister, we have herd immunity by October of 2021, October of this year. And we're seeing the slow reopening of other subsectors of the tourism sector. So we're seeing cruise on stream. I did notice quite a few St. Lucians lining up to go back to work on the cruise ships. This is happening, St. Lucia. We're seeing individuals preparing all around the world for the resumption of cruise activity. Even our own residents here on island are queuing up with the various agencies here operating here on island to return to work on the cruise ships. So things are on the up and up. And if you want to go work on the cruise ships, you need to be vaccinated against COVID-19. So another thing that needs to be taken into consideration as we move into this new space, this new dispensation. Being vaccinated and not being vaccinated could mean enjoying or not enjoying the benefits of that society offers in terms of employment at certain locations, access to certain locations, and so on. Of course, we remind you that taking the vaccine is not mandatory in St. Lucia, but there are definitely some doors that will be open to you coming out of this situation of restriction that we have seen, that you can enjoy and have access to, going into more and more of the population being vaccinated. The ministry, meantime, is encouraging everyone to continue to not just get vaccinated, but also continue to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols. And that is very critical because we are still in a very precarious situation. We're still very much susceptible, vulnerable to the impact of COVID-19, and we've seen the reduction in the cases so far. Day before we had 1 case, and today we're seeing 2 new cases of COVID-19. Nonetheless, we still need to be careful because community spread has been established, and we don't want to see a surge or anything to revert the gains that have been made in our COVID-19 fight. One thing that the Chief Medical Officer did indicate is that we are seeing an increase. While we've seen a general reduction in the cases, among the cases that are being registered, there is an increase in the British variant of COVID-19. And that is something that we want to avoid altogether as well. But coming back to the infection prevention and control measures, the ministry reminding the public of these and to exercise them. You are being asked to wash your hands frequently. We're using soap and flowing water. So if you're not near a tap, a faucet, you can always use copious amounts of hand sanitizer. And that is supposed to protect you until you're able to wash yourself, get home, take a shower from being around people in town and at work and what have you. Also, wear a mask in public spaces. Wear a mask in public spaces. We had the Royal St. Lucia Police Force on here recently, and they continue to report that there is still quite a bit of, non-adherence to the wearing of masks. And I know it can be, something you're rushing to the bank or you're rushing to a supermarket, you're just getting out of your car really quickly to go do something, and you may forget. But we encourage you, we implore you to please remember to carry a mask with you. Pin it on like a bib so you don't forget to have that mask with you when you're going out in public places. Maintaining the physical distance with others. This is another safeguard to protect yourself against exposure from COVID-19. Using a bleach solution to sanitize frequently touched surfaces. So for instance, in your workplace, you have the kitchen that is shared by everyone. Make sure you wipe that down as frequently as possible. Kudos to the janitorial teams at the various establishments in town and in the city that accommodate the general public patrons. They're constantly wiping off the teller stations and so on. That is what we need to do to reduce the exposure to COVID-19. Avoiding contact with persons who have flu-like symptoms. We remind you that if you do have flu-like symptoms, that you report to the nearest community respiratory clinic to get tested, to get assessed, so that they can determine if you have COVID-19 or if it's something else. So please take note of these control measures, infection prevention measures. They are to continue to protect the island from exposure to COVID-19. Guys, we are on the up and up. We're having other countries opening up as well, and we are a tourism destination, and the hope is that if you can get these people to come down, give them the confidence that you're coming down to a safe place to enjoy paradise, enjoy their vacation. Yeah? We are due for another break. When we come back, we're going on to work at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. The Unthink Thought Festival is examining the applied theories of Sir Arthur Lewis. So stay tuned for that and more coming up in our program.
It's here, the BioIntelliSense Bio Button, an innovation to the Ministry of Health's approach in battling COVID-19. The Bio Button is a state-of-the-art device. It supports people keeping regular checks of signs of possible COVID-19 infection while placed in home quarantine. It monitors temperature, heart rate, and respiratory rate. It is very simple. Just link it to your smartphone and place the button on your chest. It's that easy. The Bio Button costs only $100 US for the 14-day period. For further information, please contact the Epidemiology Unit at 468-5325 or 468-5324.
What does coronavirus have in common with love? Both are highly contagious. Spread love, not the virus. Like you, COVID-19 loves a lime. Beach, river, or fed. Coronavirus is like these people who track every line just to invade. The best way to put off invaders? Cancel the line. Spread love, not the virus. Keep you and your crew corona-free. Live to lime another day.
Together let us win this war. Say Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This week is the anniversary of the passing of Nobel laureate Sir Arthur Lewis, and the life and work of this great man is being celebrated by the institution named after him. Sir Arthur received the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1979, and on Tuesday, 15th June this week, the college hosted what is dubbed the Unthink Festival, which discussed the economic theories posited by Sir Arthur Lewis. We have Demark with a report.
The Sir Arthur Lewis Community College successfully hosted the Unthink Festival on 15th June 2021. The Thought Festival aimed to promote regionalism and global competitiveness in the Caribbean. The Unthink Festival was held in commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the passing of Sir Arthur Lewis. The virtual event consisted of a series of panel discussions, including an open session which focused on Caribbean futures.
So the key point is that to encourage the region to think forward, but also for developing countries as a whole. That's what the pandemic tells us that we need to do now. And that's why we constructed the idea of the Unthink Thought Festival. We've brought together a stellar cast of thought leaders from around the world and from within the region. And we are hoping that the audience will be delighted by their key provocations today.
One topic of particular importance discussed by the presenters was the significance of regional integration to the growth of the Caribbean nations. Professor Avinash Prasad, chairman of the CARICOM Commission on the Economy, highlighted a shift in the regional development over the years.
Back in Sir Arthur's day, we were the fastest growing region, developmentally one of the most successful in the 1960s, 70s and 80s. And then something happened. Then we seemed to get stuck. Now we are one of the slowest growing regions in the world. And all the consequences that lead from slow growth. We've become, as a result of slow growth, one of the highest indebted regions in the world. Highly indebted, slow growing. We are giving up many of the gains and social economic gains and development gains that we had made earlier.
Jonathan Joannes is the managing director of First National Bank. He encouraged participation among countries to attain regional growth.
I think if we take the time out to realize how powerful collaboration is as opposed to competition, we will see how the sharing of best practices makes each country, each bank, each business, each citizen a lot better and a lot stronger. The sharing of assets to benefit all, knowledge transfer, and forming consortia where we can. I know we have this deep yearning to remain independent and to maintain our identity. And believe you me, the journey to form the consortia to acquire RBC was fraught with this idea of remaining indigenous and keeping our own unique identities. But there are mechanisms that allow us to be independent and cooperate as though we are one.
Other topics explored during the Sir Arthur Lewis Unthink Festival included climate action, fourth industrial revolution, creative futures, and youth and social entrepreneurship. From the Government Information Service, I'm Humadi Mark.
Thank you so much, Homer, for that report. And again, this being the decade of research and innovation, we've definitely seen the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College begin to show its mettle in being able to adapt not only to the pandemic, but in changing times. Prior to the pandemic, we saw things changing, we saw things moving ahead, and definitely with the introduction of new programs, new modes of operation, new modes of learning, these are all showing their strength in being able to adapt to the times. We continue with word from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Now, regional law enforcement is encouraging communities to establish neighborhood watch programs and also parents to be more involved with their children's lives to reduce the potential for deviant behavior. And this call to action came out of a regional community policing panel discussion and was hosted right here in St. Lucia from this very studio by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force from the GIS studios, featuring virtual presentations from Inspector Belizean Inspector Zenubio Cook out of the Belize Police Department and also Acting Inspector Roland Cobbler of the Royal Barbados Police Force. Referencing alarming rates of violence in schools across the Caribbean, we had Acting Inspector Cobbler explaining the risk factors that has been associated with deviant behavior among school-aged children. He suggests methods that parents can utilize in dealing with their children to avoid such outcomes. So keep close watch of your kids. Watch what they're doing to either intercept early on and to intervene early on and seek help early on, or also to just continuously be a guide to them even ahead of any display of such deviant behavior. So we have a clip from that panel discussion from Inspector Roland Cobbler.
These include modeling the appropriate behavior each and every time. As I said before, and I'll say it again, children mimic what they see. Of course, observe children carefully for troubling behaviors. Once you pay attention to your children, then you will see when there are deviation from that expected behavior, and then you'll be able to identify troubling behaviors and try to give early interventions into situations as they arise. Of course, take an active role in your children's education, encourage them to go to school and learn, encourage them to desist from getting involved in violence or any activity that would disrupt them from getting a strong education. Get to know your children's friends and family. Is very important that we know as parents who our children are spending time with, the places they go, and the company that they are keeping. And of course, you need to monitor and supervise our children. It's important that we monitor them and have an understanding of their internet use. Of course, you need to check their bedroom because there may be times where they'll be struggling with issues of bullying. But because we're not monitoring and supervise, they may take up a weapon from home, and then hence violence at school will occur. And of course, you also have to look for signs of other paraphilias, such as the use of illegal drugs, and being constantly monitoring and supervising our children will play a critical role in reducing some of the delinquent and violence behavior experienced in our schools.
That was Inspector Roland Cobbler from the Royal Barbados Police Force. They're speaking on how to deal with your children, being able to step in when you notice fissures in their development. But at the community level, that was the household level, but at the community level, we had Inspector Zenubia Cook from Belize illustrating the significance of a neighborhood watch group to deter crime and violence, enhance the quality of life, and improve relations among neighbors. Now, I think we have some technical difficulties with obtaining that clip, but Inspector Zenubio did go into how you can go about establishing the neighborhood watch group in your community, and it's really calling everyone to action, letting everyone know, going from house to house, letting them know that, hey, this is what we want to do to protect our community, to be able to improve our relations among neighbors. The benefits are numerous, and also organization, which is getting a WhatsApp group going, getting Zoom meetings going, having everybody come to the community centers that you might have or may not have. If you don't have, you could join virtually or visit at someone's home, COVID-19 protocols permitting. But to gather together, organize and plan events that can help to strengthen exactly what the objective of the Neighborhood Watch Group is trying to accomplish. And the regional community policing panel discussion did air on NTN, that I believe earlier, which is towards the beginning of this month. And just want to let you know that it will be airing throughout the month of June on NTN, and can also be viewed on our Government of St. Lucia Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. What we're going to do now is take another break. When we come back, we have our final segment. The Department of Forestry held a prize-giving ceremony for the winners of the World Forest and Water Day competition. Stay with us.
sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water. We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No, no.
Advice is you to please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so much for staying with us. And now to our final story for the morning. The Department of Forestry held a prize-giving ceremony for the winners of the World Forest and Water Day competition. Take a look.
The Facebook photo competition was held in conjunction with World Water Day and World Forest Day 2021 celebrations and formed part of an effort to raise awareness of the importance of protecting our natural resources. To qualify for the competition, persons were required to photograph themselves in an ecosystem and give a brief description of how it contributes to their life. Chief Forestry Officer Alwyn Donnelly highlighted the role these activities play in raising awareness of the increase in deforestation as well as contamination of our natural resources. He commended the participants on their involvement in safeguarding St. Lucia's ecosystems.
The forest is not only there for our survival. You know, we don't exist in isolation of the wildlife, the other resources that depend on the forest. We all form that network, where we depend on each other within that broader ecosystem. So the wildlife as well, they depend, on the forest. And sometimes when we destroy the forest, we destroy wildlife, and we also ultimately, we would be destroying, ourselves.
Director of the Water Resources Management Agency, Jason Ernest, encouraged the participants to continue their efforts in sensitizing the public on the importance of protecting our natural resources.
I also see you guys as being ambassadors. So for your households, for your family, friends, and for your communities to spread the message that we need to continue to protect our resource because it is very finite in St. Lucia. It's limited, and we should be aware of that. We realize that right now you see that there's a lot of indiscriminate dumping of waste and refuse into our water systems, and this is where our water supply comes from. So this is very critical that we protect it. And World Forest Day and World Water Day is two of the days where we can look to raise the awareness and sensitize persons as to the importance of what is going on.
A first and second place winner was chosen from both the north and south of the island, resulting in 4 winners total. The winners of the World Forest and Water Day competition were awarded prizes that included Samsung tablets and cell phones sponsored by the Southeast Coast Project. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
Thank you very much, Anicia, for that report. Well, we've come to the end of the morning program. I'd like to thank you so much for making NTN your wake-up station, your morning station. Do go about your day safely. I do hope you have a productive one. Do enjoy, keep safe, adhere to the protocols. My name is Jessie Leon, signing off for now. Continue to watch NTN for programming throughout the day as well. Bye.